everybody, and welcome to Senior Susie Stamps. Today I have some simple cards that I wanted to show you how I made, and I pulled out a lot of stuff to use, but trust me on this, they're really simple to put together. So let's get started. I want to show you a couple of examples of the card we're looking at today, and here's one. This stamp set is a little older. Probably some of you have it in your stash, and here's another. We're going to do a third one for this set of cards that I'm making, and let me show you the stamps that we're going to use today. This is an old set from Stampin' Up. This is a single stamp that I got in with a bunch of other stamps, and I just keep it kind of stored in there because it fits in this clamshell. That's the only reason it's really in here, and I keep all these in my flower drawer. So these ones with the red rubber are the original stamps for this set, and it is called Dreams du Jour. But we're going to use the sentiment out of that, and we're going to use this little wildflower stamp today. I also have some stamps out of a hot off the press set called Stamp-A-Garden, and we're going to use the butterfly and the color for the butterfly. It's a two-step stamp, and then we're going to use some of these little tiny ones here just for feel on these cards. Now I have also got a little stamp that I made out of a piece of fun foam, and this fun foam does not have any adhesive on it, and I just took the smallest of my scalloped circle and made a little die cut stamp, and here it is. So we're going to use that, and I got my decal edge scissors out and made a little decal edge. On these two original cards, I used my metal decal edge, but I wanted to show you, you can do it this way just fine for putting your edge on and use your decal scissors, or you can just tear a rough edge and do it that way. It won't probably be quite as defined in detail as these are, but that's okay for this kind of card. I have a sentiment that I've already stamped. It's 3 1/4 inches long, and I do have some foam tape on the back of it. I have a regular side fold A2 size card, and this is the number 6 layer, and it is 4 by 2 1/4 inches, and it will fit proportionally exactly on the front of this card. So let's get started with this card today, and I'm going to grab some scratch paper to work on. You can see where I've been working on it. And I wanted us to do some ombre ink, and I'll show you how we're going to do that today. I have 3 in the purple range: Perfect Plum, Orchid Opulence, and Highland Heather. They're all just kind of purple lavender colors, and I have a large stamping block here, and I'm just going to put some ink down in kind of an ombre effect, if you will. And then, oh, I wish Stampin' Up! Had not changed the way they did their stamp pads, because I struggle with these. There. Oh. So I'm through with this ink. I'm going to set it aside, and I'm going to put just the lightest little spritz on this end, because that ink that was on that end is not as damp as the rest of this ink is. And so I'm going to take my little piece of fun foam stamp here and just pick up some of the different inks on that and try to stamp my little images so that there's just kind of a mottled effect, because I didn't want it to be all the same. think it adds a little more interest in the piece when it's not just all identical. There, and now you can see there's a lot of color variation. I hope you can see. There's a lot of color variation in this piece. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this another little spritz of water. And I have another piece of cardstock over here in my first layer bins. And I'm just going to pick this ink up so that I don't end up wiping it up and throwing it away, because it's really nice to have a little background piece like this to use once in a while. And I'm going to set that over and put these heavy blocks on top of it. Out of the camera way there, wipe up my mess. And I'm going to use some Tuxedo Black ink. And I'm going to just put 3 of these little wildflowers down. One maybe kind of in the middle. And then one on each side in a little lower spot. There we go. I need to do the butterflies. I have some scrap paper over here. And I'm going to do the butterflies in orange ink. But the initial ink is black. And then I'm going to use a punch to cut these, because I don't have a cutting die for that. And honestly, it doesn't make any difference if you have a cutting die that's exact on this, because the butterfly shape is so close. I'm going to make a little moth out of it, I think, instead of a butterfly. I'll probably get my head in the way. You know how that goes. You got to get down there with it. There, now those can be drying up, and I'll punch those out in just a few minutes. I want to go back now. Put my black ink away too fast. That's the way it goes sometimes. And I want to use these little tiny stamps. And I have them put, you'll notice I have them put on the corners so that I can just ink the one that I want. Then I'm just going to come back in and I'm going to do a little backfill with these little stamps. I don't know, 5 or 6 or 3 or 4, whatever ends up working on this is fine with me. Some of them are going off the page, and now I'm going to wipe that stamp off so that I don't inadvertently get a little shadow blast from it. And I'll do the same with this one, and then I'll put that third one down in there. And that gives you quite a bit to look at on this card. There. That's nice. Now, all I need to do now is to do the edge. And I'm going to do that with a black Sharpie. And I like these big, fat, wide chisel point, chisel tip Sharpie markers for doing this step. And as I said, you can do this with a little piece that you've either cut or torn, or you can use one of those metal tear rulers. I think they give perhaps just a little bit more definition than this does, but this is perfectly fine. And I'm just trying to get a little sort of even at the top and the bottom, and then I don't worry about where the decal goes. I just follow it with my marker. and just drag right down next to it. So it's about somewhere between a quarter and, well, I guess probably between an eighth and a quarter in most spots. And then I'm going to take my marker and go around the outside edge, because there is a little white core paper showing on some of these little spots, and I don't want that to show on my card. This card has kind of an optical illusion once you get it put together. It draws your eye in and makes it look like it has a lot more depth than it actually does. So I'm going to make sure this is dry. I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to go ahead and punch my butterflies out. This is a Paper Studio punch. It's just a little generic butterfly punch, and it doesn't exactly fit this butterfly, but it is close enough, and we're going to go back in with a little bit of ink and fill in where we need to. I'm not sure I really like this orange color, but we'll see. Let me finish this out. I may change my mind here in a minute. You know, I do that once in a while. Oh my, don't I ever. I hope you do too, and feel free to change your mind in your studio. It's just alright. It's okay to do. Alright, this is ready to be glued down now, and I'm going to use Books by Hand PVA glue. This PVA glue doesn't warp your paper near as bad as some of the other glues that I have used in the past, and it holds really nicely. So now this should have an equal border all the way around it, because it is an A2 size layer. And as I said, I've already got this up on some foam, so we can go ahead and put that down. And we'll see where we're going to put it. I think right about there. I'm going to bring it all the way over to this edge. There. And there we go. Now let's see if we like those, and I don't. I can tell you that right now. So they're going away. And we'll redo those with some other ink. I'll be right back. So I decided to change those to Pear Tart because I think that color is going to work with this a little nicer than that bright orange Tangelo was. And what I'm going to do is get just a little tiny smidge of water on an ink block just to wet my brush, really. And I've used this brush today, so I want to make sure I had all of the ink out of it. Then I'm just going to go in and pick up a little extra ink off the ink pad and go in and just fill in these little spots that perhaps were missed on the where the punch came through. And that finishes these little butterfly moths out just fine. And doing the body and just these little tail tips here. And then I'm going to go back in with just a little bit extra ink and darken up here around the body itself, just like you would if you were coloring, you know, with an alcohol marker. And it adds just a little bit of extra dimension and eye appeal to these. You could put a different color in here and it would be fine, but just the monochromatic works for me today. And the next thing I want to do, you know how some moths have little short stubby antennae? Well, on this particular little punch, it lends itself really well to making a little short stubby. Looks like my pen needs some ink, doesn't it? Well, that one's a dead pen, I think. Let's try another one. There. Yeah. See how that works? And that works just fine. It's just a little different antennae than the big long butterfly antennae that we normally see. And then I'm going to go back with my broad tip black Sharpie and go around the outside edge of these little guys. And that will give them just a little bit more definition and finish out that white paper edge just a little bit more. I'll show you the difference between two of them here in just a second. So you can see this one and then that one. See how much more definition that one has. And it just takes a little second to do with your marker here. You do kind of have to have some control so that you don't mark over your image, and you'll see I'm kind of locking my hands together there to give it a little bit more control while I'm edging this little tiny piece here. So now I'm going to change glue to my Art Glitter Glue because it dries a little quicker. This Books by Hand PVA glue that I've got gives you a lot more slip time than the Art Glitter Glue does, which is good in some applications like this because I want these little butterflies to go ahead and tighten up. Well, there's one. And I'm just going to try to put them kind of in the same place that most of the rest of them are, because I'm thinking that this is probably going to be a little set of cards that will go out of the studio as a set. And the wings that are not tied down, I'll try to pull up and fluff just a little bit after the glue dries. But there's the card finished. Didn't take long at all, did it? And you can see how with that little decal edge and the black Sharpie pen, how much it kind of pulls your eye up into that. And I kind of like that ombre ink. Now, I wanted to show you something else before I move on out today. Because I had that green ombre ink, and I made an ink pull off of my pad, my stamping block on the ink for this card. I had the ombre ink left, and so I thought I would make a little card out of this one that will utilize that leftover ink and kind of show it to you. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little additional ink on this, I think. I'm planning on using a Lavinia stamp, and this is a stamp called Rufus. It's a cutie. And I've got a little piece of acetate that I punched out into a circle that I'm going to kind of leave as a moon shape on that. So let me get some ink and we'll see what we can come up with on this one. I'm going to get my little Dollar Tree cutting board in because I'm probably going to do a little ink blending on this. I'm just going to put a little ATG down just to stabilize that. And I'm going to put a little moon shape in there. And this ink blending around the little clear block of acrylic is easy to do. And then when you pull it up, you can have your little moon shape around that way. I don't want to take away all the light of the moon on this, just a little bit. So there we have that. And then I think in addition to Rufus, maybe we need a tree or something in the background for him to sit and look at the moon. Let's see what else we've got here that will work for him. This is the fun part of pulling ink that you know is going to go to waste anyway. You can do whatever you want to with this piece of paper. And if it works, great, and if it doesn't, then the ink was probably going to be trashed out anyway. So here we go. Let me see what else I can find. So I'm going back to this stamp set, Stamp a Garden, and I pulled this one and this one and that one, and actually I think I'll change out to this one so that we have them all silhouette images. I'll put this other one back. Okay. Get some stamp blocks here and just see what we can come up with. I'm going to change out to VersaFine on this. And I'm just going to put some foliage in. This is classic Lavinia style stamping here. There. I think that's probably going to be enough. I don't think we need to overwhelm because this is just a little small piece. And I think I'm going to add just a little bit extra of these little tiny spots in here. There. Maybe not some grass, but I think I'm going to go ahead and put him in next. But I need to get my MISTI out, so give me just a sec. Now I'm going to put this on a top fold card. And remember, there's just a little bit of adhesive on the back of this. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on the card front where it kind of needs to go. And then we'll put Rufus on. And he's going to come off the card front just a little bit. He's going to come off the finished piece just a little bit. And I'm going to do him in VersaFine ink as well. He may have to be inked 2 or 3 times, but he may not. It just kind of depends. I really like Lavinia stamps. They stamp really well. And they're whimsical. I'm going to do one more. There we go. And now I'm going to pull this piece off without moving this. And I'm going to go ahead and ink it again so that there's not any missing black ink underneath of him, because it couldn't get quite far enough in there around the edge of that piece. So we're going to go ahead and fill in a little bit now. There. And that's good. Got a little white right there. Let me do one more. Looks like there's a little bit of something on this stamp. There we go. I think I got it now. Perfect. All right, now all we need to do is glue this piece down and get it in the right spot. And for that, I am going to use my Books by Hand PVA glue. Let's see. It needs to go right about there, because it does give a little extra slip time. And because this paper is warped up just a little bit, I'm going to put some extra glue on and give myself plenty of help on that. Now I am probably going to get my head in the way. think that's about right there. I'll flip this over and press it from the back. And I hate it, but there's something on the back of my card. Well, that happens. And you know what it was? It was my fingers. Hate that when that happens, don't you? Dadgummit. Well, here we go. I'm going to put a little alcohol on my fingers. Get that stuff off. Get it off of here. And hope nobody looks at the back of my card. Well, it's just impossible to cover up that stuff. I'll probably cut the front off of this and put it on another card because I won't be able to stand it. But that's one thing that you can do with some leftover ink. And I thought I would show you that right quick while I had you here as a captive audience. So, anyway, I'll finish this card up, and you'll probably see it on the Facebook page, completely finished, but there's an idea for you. And these are the cards that we worked on today. Well, I thought I'd show you how I'm going to save this card. I cut it down to 3 3/4 by 5, which is another A2 size layer, and then I have it up on foam tape, and that will completely save this card and give it a little extra dimension and some structure to the card front. So if you ever mess up the back of your card, it's okay. You can fix it. It's easy to do. And so that's what we're going to do with this one. And here it is. Done and done. So there it is, all ready to go. You'll notice now I put just a little bit of ink around his tail and just his body, just for a little bit of definition, but that card's done. It looks like I need to go back and put some little gems in. On this one I forgot to do that, but these have some in those little tiny flowers, so I'll add that to those as well. But here's the cards from today, and I hope y'all have a great week, and I will talk to you again real soon. Bye-bye, y'all.